Welcome to another episode of the ChamberSouth Spotlight, a show about our members and for our members to get the spotlight. I'm your host today, Alex Noda with ChamberSouth, a proud board member. I'm very excited to be here with another fellow Alex, Alex Pass, the VP of Education and Workforce Development for Chapman Partnership. Brother, thank you for being here today. Thank you for collaborating.
Thanks for the invite, Alex. Happy to be here.
Such a pleasure, man, to have you here.
Sure.
I've been a volunteer at your facilities, heard about Chapman a lot, and I'm so happy that we get an opportunity to talk about it today, understand more about what you guys do.
Right.
So that's exactly where I want to start. Tell me about Chapman. What is the mission? What do you guys do? Tell me about it.
So that's something we're always eager to do, get the word out about Chapman, because we are, and part of our ethos is that we don't heavily market, we don't heavily publicize, because it's all about the mission and it's all about the work. And that started with our founder, Alva Chapman. So our story goes back to around 1992, around the time that this community was stricken by Hurricane Andrew. Yeah. And Mr. Chapman, for those that have been in the community for a long time, was the head of the Miami Herald, chairman of Knight Ridder for decades. And part of his life's calling later in life was to assist those that were experiencing homelessness. Wow. One of our mission statements is "No one sleeps on the streets." That came from the man himself.
Wow.
So he would, on his daily commute, he used to live in Coconut Grove. He would go from Coconut Grove to downtown Miami. And back in the late 80s, early 90s, there were around 15 to 20,000 people sleeping under the overpasses of I-95. Ooh. And one day, coming out of a church retreat with his wife, Betty, he simply was hit with the idea of, we have to do something to help. So right around that time, Miami gets hit by Hurricane Andrew. Mr. Chapman is appointed by Governor Lawton Chiles back at that point in time to address the reconstruction of Homestead, which was devastated back then.
Right.
And as part of all that, he developed this kind of network of businesses, community providers, faith-based organizations, direct service institutions. And he started working with local elected officials to establish what we now call the Homeless Trust. So that went to legislation. It was approved by the voters of Miami-Dade County, and that established both the Homeless Trust and the private operating partner, Chapman Partnership, which is what we are.
Wow.
So we are an extension of the trust. We are private, but we specialize in serving anyone that is experiencing homelessness. One of the differences in what we do and why I think we're important in the South Florida landscape is that we are a very low barrier entry shelter. So it doesn't matter what circumstance you have in life. It doesn't matter if you're a single male, single female, recently have a newborn. We have our mother's dormitories, a teenager exiting foster care because you're aging out, or unfortunately, one of our growing populations, which is family units with their children.
Wow.
And what we really believe in is we do not separate families. So if you go to our shelters, you'll see sleeping arrangements, dormitories. They kind of look like college dorms where mom, dad, son, daughter can be together. We believe in the integrity of the family.
That's amazing, man. That's a big mission.
Yes.
I'm telling you, because I have been one of the people that have been blessed in their life that I have never experienced what it is to be homeless. But just the thought of it, and now that you mentioned families, I do have a family, wife and 2 kids, and just thinking about it alone just made me feel a little fuzzy inside.
Right.
So the fact that you guys help families, help individuals, help people overall get a roof over their head and a meal, right? That is just such an incredible, impactful mission. I know that you mentioned yourself that there's some other institutions that might be public and whatnot, other shelters that provide similar services.
Right.
Talk to me about Chapman and how, beyond everything else you have mentioned, what makes you guys unique, better, different than everybody else?
What makes us unique, and we're not better, we are all part of what we call the continuum of care. So we are so fortunate to count on our friends at Lotus House, the Miami Rescue Mission, Salvation Army. There's literally dozens of providers. Hermanos de la Calle is doing amazing work with immigrants. But everyone is a little bit different. And what we like to prioritize is our focus on workforce development and getting our adult clients jobs. And it's not just jobs, because unfortunately, we recently ran a study, and 41% of our new admissions are coming in with some sort of income. So these are folks that are out there working. They might be working in our hotels, our restaurants, our hospitality spaces, our Walmarts, our supermarkets. And through circumstances outside of their control, either rent goes up an exorbitant amount, there's a medical emergency, there's a divorce, senior citizens might lose their spouse and suddenly their income drops 50%. They find themselves inside the doors of Chapman Partnership. But when they do arrive, we immediately do an income assessment, we do a stabilization plan, and we do a success plan. So let's say you're making minimum wage at a construction job. We immediately start setting you on that success plan where we can say, okay, we can probably link you up with a Miami-Dade County public school technical college and get your income up about 20%. Suddenly the conversation changes. We also have a lot of professionals that have either lost their licensures because they can't afford it or need to get back on their feet, and we assist with that. We've got great partnerships. We've got folks pursuing bachelor's degrees. We've got folks with master's degrees in our shelters. And then we have folks that just need the English language acquisition, security license renewals, just anything that we can do for them to improve their earning potential. Because we believe at Chapman Partnership that the ultimate way out of chronic homelessness is through upskilling, and ultimately we need to make a little more. Yeah. We always say that there's a challenge in affordable housing. Everyone knows that the cost of living is on the rise year over year. Yeah, but what are we doing about it? One thing is to talk about it, but what are we doing about it? Right. And we place a huge priority on that.
That's awesome and quite unique.
Yes.
Tell me about how people normally find Chapman. How does that happen? Let's say I am dealing with homelessness, or I am struggling on my job and barely able to make ends meet. How do I find Chapman? How do I even know that it's out there? How do I understand that these resources are available to me?
So Miami is unique in that aspect. In a lot of cities across the country, and a lot of cities, take Los Angeles for example, they have a huge issue with homelessness. There are literally 70,000 people on the streets. When you compare it with around 900 to 1,000 in Miami-Dade County, not the city of Miami, the entire county. That's from, Florida City all the way up to County Line Road. In cities like that, there's more of mission models where people simply walk up, get a meal, a place to sleep that night, and then they have to kind of move on. In Miami, we don't have walk-in shelters like that. When the Homeless Trust was established, the Homeless Helpline was also established. So there's a 1-800 number, which is on our website, or you can go to homelesstrust.org, and you can immediately be connected with one of their coordinators that will ask you, they'll perform an intake of sorts and ask you, okay, what's your family situation? Are you employed? Are you facing any additional challenges? And depending on what your specific life situation is, they'll either refer you to Chapman Partnership, to Lotus House, to the Salvation Army, because we all have a unique set of skills and a unique population that we can serve. Obviously, if it's, like I mentioned before, if it's a mom and a dad with their kids, Chapman's going to be the first choice, because that is one of our niches that we specialize in. And then it ultimately comes up to availability. Yeah. Unfortunately, the shelters are also full, but we do manage the coordinated entry process for families, meaning when shelter space is full for those families, there are a series of hotels and motels in the city that serves as kind of a waiting room, a waiting list. So folks can stay there for a couple of days or so, and as soon as availability opens up, we will take them into our shelter.
Amazing. Talk to me about, because that's a question that I had, talk to me about capacity. First, how many shelters do you guys have? Is it just one?
No. We have our main shelter, which is in downtown Miami on 15th Street and Miami Avenue. That's been open since 1995. We serve over 500 individuals there.
Got it.
So every night If you go by our downtown campus, there will be 500 men, women, and children calling that their temporary home. We also have, which we've been fortunate enough to host ChamberSouth, our Homestead campus, which is a beautiful campus on about 8 acres of land. We are close to 400 beds down there. We're constantly expanding just because we have the space, and we always have to keep up with the need. And what I mentioned with the hotel motels and our follow-up community, we have about 200 additional folks that we are working with out there. So on any given day, we're working with over 1,000 individuals.
Wow, that's incredible. That is incredible. So essentially, going back to the stats that you mentioned, right? California, 70,000 people. In Florida, about 1,000 people. In essence, you guys have touched every homeless life in this county at some point. Just following the stats, right?
We always talk about it, and the chairman of the Homeless Trust, Ron Book, also mentions it. Everyone that you see on the street has been approached by one of the outreach teams in Miami-Dade County.
Wow.
Usually the folks that are chronically out there that refuse to come into shelter, because it is a voluntary process.
Right.
And there are a lot of rules and guidelines that folks need to follow to remain in shelter. The folks that are still out there are probably chronically mentally ill, or there's a lot of substance abuse involved, and there are different avenues for those folks. Judge Leifman has a great facility that will probably be coming online later this year that's was specifically built for these chronically mentally unstable folks that usually either are arrested, end up in psychiatric stabilization units, and then they're released. It's not the best course of action for that. So the county is aggressively pursuing different avenues so that we can meet each person experiencing homelessness specifically where they are.
Amazing. What is the average stay?
So the average stay, we are a transitional shelter. It's temporary.
Right.
It varies. So we like to keep it around 120 days. But our
quite a bit of time.
Yeah. But our families generally stay longer just because it's harder to find affordable rent for a family of 5, and 2 to 3 bedrooms are harder to come by than a single bed unit or a shared housing model. But our goal is 120 days. By then, clients should have be well on their way to stabilization, be well on their way to being document ready, which is a huge problem. Sometimes folks don't have their social security cards, driver's licenses, all sorts of things, and well on their way to having already acquired employment or currently in the interview process.
Amazing, man. Amazing. That's incredible, because imagine being in a situation like that and then 4 months down the line, your life has completely changed.
Right.
That's an impactful mission. I love that. So beyond that, right? Beyond the benefit of having a roof over your head, beyond the benefit of all the services that you're providing, beyond the fact that you're providing meals for these folks, some of the ones that we helped fed when we visited your location. Some of the work is described as a village of support.
Right.
Talk to me about that. What does it mean?
Well, we believe that we cannot do everything ourselves. I think a lot of providers in the space, and sometimes we've been guilty of it, we want to be the educator. We want to be the counselor. We want to be the medical care service. We're much more successful when we bring in the Miami-Dade County Village.
Yeah.
So when we bring organizations like Jackson Health, they staff our medical clinics. When we bring in organizations like Branches for their financial services and documentation. When we bring in Miami-Dade College, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, FIU, and we say, bring your professors in here and teach in our facilities.
Wow.
We want to make it the meeting place of everyone that wants to help in Miami-Dade County. We want our shelters to be open, which is why we are so happy when we get to host ChamberSouth meetings. And another element that kind of differentiates us is we consider ourselves part of the business community. Because when you are opening up a brand new restaurant, bakery, retail outlet, the number one issue that friends at different chambers tell us is, what's the street homelessness like?
Yeah.
Will it affect the front of my business. So we always say, if organizations like Chapman don't exist, the business community suffers as well. So we absolutely have to go to the business community and ask them what they need. Another area is we also ask them, what do you need in employees? There's oftentimes a labor shortage in entry-level positions. So we say, what kind of certifications? So a restaurant will come to us and say, I absolutely need my employees to have safe serve certifications. Or we recently had a conversation with Publix, and they said, we don't have folks with pastry credentials and with pastry schooling, and our bakeries are taking a hit. So we take that information, we go back to our educational partners, and we develop programs around that.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. That is incredible. So how do you guys normally deal with going out to the business community, going out to these other supporting organizations? How do you touch them and let them know, hey, this is the impact that we're trying to do? Join me. And how does that work?
Well, we're fortunate that over the course of our 30 years, we've built up a robust employer database. So we have around 200 local businesses, a lot of them in South Dade and Homestead. And this could be, as large as Amazon to your local tire shop down the street that employs 3 people. But they know about Chapman. And our employment specialists are regularly reaching out to them and asking them, how are you doing with staffing? What are your needs? How has your business evolved? Another aspect of how we do that is by our involvement in the chambers.
Yeah.
The more we can be in forums like this, the more we can go to your meetings, the more we can present, the more relationships are built. Because the only way that I always call it, how do you move the football down the field? That's by building relationships of value and substance. Much more than talking about it. We talk about it, obviously, but we will go to your business and say, what can we do for you?
Incredible, man. I love how passionate you are about Chapman, Alex.
It's important work.
It's definitely important work. I know that nothing is perfect, right? And there's always challenges and opportunities. Talk to me maybe about a couple of challenges that Chapman might be facing or things that they find opportunities on.
Well, we are a housing first model. So everything we do is ultimately with the goal of finding our clients sustainable housing.
Right.
As everyone in this community knows, whether you're a homeowner or a renter, you're leasing, you have roommates, every year the cost of housing is going up. And it's not up, 0.5%.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
It's quite a bit. As a matter of fact, United Way's ALICE report, which is the Asset Limited Income Constrained but Employed, meaning that these are family units that are gainfully employed. Both adults have full-time work, and they are falling below being able to make it. That's up 2% year over year, which is a huge number when you think about it. And that's not just in Miami. That's across the state of Florida.
Wow.
Miami is obviously a lot more affected by that. So our number one issue is always finding rents that our clients can afford. And not just our clients, I mean the working class community of Miami-Dade County. Where are the affordable rents? So we count on a robust network of landlords that have worked with us for decades. We have what we call housing navigators that connect the right client with the right housing opportunity. That's on the housing side. On the fundraising side, we are funded by the food and beverage tax, but that's only a portion of what we do. In order to provide our full gambit of services, we have to privately fundraise around $7 million a year. So we do that through different events, service days, companies sponsor. We have our Take a Walk in Her Shoes event, which just occurred in April, and we have our annual gala, which is occurring in October. So that is the funding challenge. And the third challenge, which I always say, is we always need more employers that are willing to work with our clients. So we're always reaching out. We're always trying to see who are the new employers coming into the city, just so that they can know why Miami looks different than every major metropolitan area in this country.
How can people, because you mentioned the fundraising aspect and the fact that, help is always needed, right? And welcomed. How can people, especially folks listening to this podcast today, how could they reach out and support? How can they find ways to contribute to the Chapman mission? Is the gala already out there. People could maybe go in and sign up for that, become sponsors. Tell me about ways to contribute to the Chapman mission.
So I like to keep it simple. The quickest way to get connected with Chapman Partnership is chapmanpartnership.org. We've recently revamped our website. It's much more user-friendly. Pretty much everyone can get whatever they are looking for out of that website. There's a great tab called Volunteer Opportunities, whether it's an individual, whether it's a student, whether it's a company. Go through that. Speak with our Community Relations Department, and they will help you get proximate to the situation. I always say, our mission can't be sold in a commercial.
Right.
Our mission can't be sold on an Instagram post. It helps, it raises awareness, but our mission is ultimately sold when you go and you visit one of our centers and you see, the families, the children, the folks going to work, the folks sitting in an English class, the folks taking their GED. That's when people can ultimately connect. So it's very important that folks get proximate to the issue.
Man, I love that statement that you just made, and it actually made me think about a question that I have. Mm-hmm. Walk me through the average day for one of the people that reside in your centers. How does it look like? Because you mentioned them going out to work and then potentially coming back. You mentioned them in classrooms taking classes. How does it look like for the average person in there?
And this is the most relatable thing. It looks very similar to our day.
To regular, wow.
You wake up at 5 or 6 a.m., you get the kids ready for school, the school bus shows up, you take them to the school bus, and you go to work at Amazon or Publix or a local construction site till about 5 or 6 p.m. When you get back, thankfully our family resource centers, they've been in the after school or at camp, which we provide. And then starting at 6 p.m., we have family dinners.
Wow.
You spend family time in the evening and you go to bed. So just because you're in shelter doesn't mean that you're on this, militaristic
right.
kind of institutional type of setting. No, people are living their lives.
Living their lives.
People are living their lives. The only difference is their home address is 1550 North Miami Avenue.
Wow. That's why I wanted to ask that question, to demystify.
Right.
Because I had my own biases of maybe how that looked like.
And I always, when folks go for a tour, I always like to point out there's around 520 people sleeping here every night. And if you go right now at it's 1 o'clock now, if you see more than 20, 30, 40 people in our congregate settings, that's a lot. Meaning all of those folks are out there in community being productive citizens.
Wow. Amazing, man. This is definitely an incredible mission. Alex, I want to give you back time in case that we failed to touch on anything about Chapman. It's your time now to shine and share more information that maybe we haven't covered. That's all I got, man, for now.
Well, I do want to mention one of our latest initiatives and part of our overall strategic plan. And we always talk about we can either complain about things or we can do something about it. So at Chapman Partnership, we believe in removing barriers to employment. So whether it's levels of mental health or significant gaps in job history or maybe things on the criminal record. So we found that as a need, and we went ahead and established a social enterprise called CP Works. So creative title, right? Chapman Partnership Works. But what we're doing there is we're taking the clients that we've been working with, and we see that they're honestly trying, and they go out on job interview after job interview, and for whatever reason, they can't land the job. And we're saying, you know what? We're going to give you a job. It's a transitional job, so it's no longer than a year, 3 months, just to get stuff back, a work experience back on their resume. Give them time to take an unarmed security license course, a construction course, an electrical course, and give them that space so that they can start earning an income. So our first partner on that project was the Underline, the linear park under the Metro Rail. We have Chapman clients out there doing horticulture work. They're planting the flowers, they're planting the trees, they're maintaining the space, they're painting. They've become almost ambassadors. And the program has been incredibly successful. We recently partnered with the city of Miami, so we're doing the beautification of downtown Miami, the Omni districts, areas around Brickell, And ultimately, we are just getting people back going. The program started with 5 individuals. It's already up to 40, and we anticipate it'll be up to 60 by the end of the year.
Wow.
So that's 60 lives that are changing, and 60 folks that will be able to go back out there with that experience that they have under their belt, with those certifications, with those licenses, and get back to living in Miami.
Changing lives, brother.
Yes, sir.
Incredible.
Yes,
Congratulations on the work that you're doing. Now a message to our chamber. Challenge you guys, ChamberSouth, do what you guys do best. Support the community. Please reach out to Chapman Partnership. Make sure you contribute to their mission. They're doing an incredible job in this community, changing lives every day and making sure that people could get back to living their best life. Again, brother, thank you so much for being here today. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of the ChamberSouth Spotlight.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.